Anybody who has ever traveled on that train and tried to use any wireless service knows that the service is at best spotty, and it really needs to be improved. It's something we've heard, it's something that commuters certainly and other consumers have complained about for years, and we in the industry have sought to fix. And so this is long overdue, and we're very, very excited about it. What this agreement will do is allow AT&T to get access to rights of way along the rail line on an expedited manner, so that we can build a series of small cell nodes all along the line to dramatically improve service. So we're very excited. I can tell you we've already started the work with the DOT. They've been wonderful to deal with. We look forward to continuing on this project. I'm happy to answer some questions as we continue on. With that, I'll turn it over to the Lieutenant Governor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for AT&T's commitment to working with the state of Connecticut to improve connectivity in this heavily traveled area. Mayor Rilling, thank you so much for hosting us, and we are delighted to be joined by our legislative leadership. We have our Senate Majority Leader, Bob Duff. We have State Representative Lucy Dathan. We have Representative Steve Meskers, and we have Senator Will Haskell joining us today, and we're proud to work with them. Hey, and Representative Jonathan Steinberg of Westport, thanks for joining us, sir. Metro North and this rail line is already a very busy railway, and it's a great option for commuters, and these upgrades are going to entice people to use mass transportation. Hopefully the blackouts and the drop calls will be addressed, and these upgrades are going to increase productivity for the people that use the rail. It will also make for a much more pleasant commute, and because people will be able to talk to their friends and family and stay in touch. Additionally, this partnership paves the way to realize Governor Lamont's big vision of providing 5G for Connecticut and moving Connecticut into a leadership role in 5G technology, which will result in innovation and job creation in our state. This is an exciting partnership, and with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Governor Ned Lamont.
First of all, John and AT&T, I really appreciate you making Connecticut and this corridor a real priority. But this will be one of the first 5G corridors in the country. And as you know, we've got some catching up to do. Joe reminds me when it comes to our transportation infrastructure. When it comes to connectivity, right now Connecticut is already most of the internet accessible connectivity states in the country. And that's good, but we got to do more than that. So as you know, we're here with the folks from the legislature. They know how important it is that we speed up the rail service to New Haven and to New York. But in the meantime, I don't want it to be a waste of time while you're on that train. I want it to be as incredibly productive as you can. So by the end of this year, I hope we're going to have 4G service, no more dead zones, easy access. You'll be able to FaceTime and do a lot of the work you can from your office right in the train cars going forward. And soon thereafter, we get up to a 5G service. One of the things we need to be able to do that, of course, is to be able to upgrade the rail cars, as I understand it, John. So that's why Joe and I give us a little bit of dough so we can get those rail cars upgraded, and we'll be able to get the 5G service integrated there. But this is a way that you bring Connecticut's economy back to life. Speeding up the transportation, speeding up the internet access, being able to do everything from a rail car that you can do from your office. And that's why I'm really proud that this will be one of the very first places in the country, this incredibly important corridor, to be able to provide 5G service in the near future. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bob Duff, Senate Majority Leader representing Norwalk and Darien, and I'm very, very pleased to be here today and stand with everyone on this really important announcement. There is no one way to build an economy of the future. We have to do that in a number of different ways. And one of the ways, though, to accomplish that goal is to have a modern transportation system that takes people from point A to point B in a convenient, accessible, and reliable way in a consistent manner. And we do that by having an upgraded transportation system, getting people intrastate and interstate faster. We do that by making sure that they don't have drop calls, that they can do their work on their trains. And we do that by connecting that with affordable housing and good education systems, and that's how we grow an economy. So this announcement today is one very important piece of our future here in the state of Connecticut on what is the lifeline for Connecticut's economy on the New Haven line. I want to take a moment to thank the governor, lieutenant governor for their leadership on this issue, AT&T for their leadership on this issue and for this wonderful public-private partnership. But also want to definitely give a shout out to Senator Will Haskell, who has been made this a campaign issue for him when he first ran for the legislature. And I know all the legislators here, as Representative Dathan as well, and Meskers and Steinberg, support this as well. But he has driven this, and somebody who sits next to him, he talks so much about this issue, and I know how seriously he takes this issue. And so I give him credit for one of the reasons why we're here today. So thank you, Will, for your work on this. So again, very, very important announcement today. I'm just so pleased to stand with everybody and look forward to not having my wife say when she takes the train, I'll call you back because I may lose you in a few seconds. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Rilling, for hosting us.
Thank you. And before we hear from Senator Haskell, we want to bring up our DOT Commissioner, Joe Giletti, for a few words.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. And my name is Joe Giletti. I'm the Commissioner for the Department of Transportation, and this is a day we have been anticipating for some time. We're on the brink of offering 5G service up and down the New Haven line. This is an issue that when we had our customer outreach, it was the #1 request that they had. They didn't like losing the signal going through the tunnels. They didn't like losing the signal along the way. This will take care of that issue in that you'll have a dedicated signal all the way through. This public-private partnership brings us the best of both worlds. Top-notch service brought to you by people who can do it best. So I thank John Emmer and his team for their efforts in getting us to where we are today, and of course the governor and the lieutenant governor for their leadership, the representatives and the senators for their support on these issues, and for constantly keeping my feet to the fire on making sure that these things are going to go forward. So thank you very much for attending this event today.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Giletti. I just want to add very briefly that I'm so grateful that the governor's office and the governor himself has listened to commuters and constituents of mine and of Senator Duff, Representative Steinberg, Dathan, and Meskers as well. When you go to train stations, as you have the unique pleasure of doing as an elected official, a few mornings every month, and you talk to commuters before sunrise, they all tell you the same thing. They're eager for the trains to get faster, but they know that it's not going to happen overnight. But they're frustrated that on every commercial airline and on Amtrak, and even on the New York subway system, they can get Wi-Fi, or they can answer their emails. They can begin working in the morning before they're actually at their desk. Yet here on the New Haven branch line, as the mayor said, the busiest commuter network in the entire country, they're not able to commute efficiently. We have a problem on this line of overcrowding. So many people are taking the train that they often can't find a seat during rush hour. We think that this will help ease congestion because a lot of commuters have told me, hey, I would take a later train. My boss would be understanding if I could begin working the moment that I stepped on the train. Unfortunately, they can't. It's dead time right now. They are just, it's economically inefficient as they sit on that train and wait away from their family and away from their desk doing absolutely nothing. We begin to solve this problem today. I want to thank Nick Simmons in the governor's office who's been leading this. I want to thank the governor himself and of course Senator Duff who's made this a priority in the Senate. Thank you so much to AT&T. This is really a huge step forward for those commuters and I can't wait to tell them about this when I go back to the train stations next week.
Hi, my name is Steve Meskers. I'm the state rep out of Greenwich, and I want to thank the governor and the Department of Transportation, AT&T. I spent 25 years on the trains commuting into Manhattan, and losing calls consistently and trying to get business done as I went to my job on Wall Street was a constant and common complaint. I think fixing our transportation network and starting at this level, and at some point with more trains and faster trains, I think those are the solutions we're looking for. We want to move this state forward, and I want to thank everyone who's helping us get there.
Hi, my name is Lucy Dathan. I represent Norwalk and New Canaan up in Hartford, and I'm delighted to see so many people here today. And I want to echo my colleagues' echo my colleagues' praise of this partnership. I think this is fantastic. And as a working mother who would get on the train in the morning, I needed that extra time because I couldn't get my kids to daycare until a certain time, and I had to get my work done. Same thing on the back end of the day. And you also need to know as a working mom that you can get in touch with your schools and your daycare and everything. So I'm really pleased with this partnership, and thank you to AT&T, thank you to the mayor, and thank you to all my elected representatives.
I'm State Representative Jonathan Steinberg from Westport, and as you might imagine, I spent some time with Will Haskell campaigning last year at the train station. And Will kept promising people over and over again, we're going to get you Wi-Fi on the ready to go. Geez, Will, you be careful what you promise. It's just not that easy sometimes. But I got to congratulate him for following through, and the governor and lieutenant governor, Emera, and AT&T. My wife commutes on that train every day. She works for a living compared to me. And she's very appreciative of being able to stay in contact and get work done. This is a great day for Connecticut. Thank you.
Any questions?
Hey, John, can you address, take a look over your shoulder? I think some photo bombers going on there.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about the health claims.
Yeah, sure. So I think the most important thing to understand on 5G and 4G, that fundamentally from a health perspective and from an RF perspective, is no different than 4G, 3G, and the 2G networks that came before it. The FCC recently, on a unanimous and a bipartisan basis, said it has, after studying this issue, said it doesn't need to change any of its existing exposure rules that have been in place for generations. So I think, to be frank, that a lot of the concerns about safety in 5G are just not warranted.
Hey, we'll talk to you after, okay? Can you talk about the actual physical things that AT&T has to do?
Yeah, absolutely, happy to. So we have already started to undertake some testing along the line. We've done rides with equipment along the line to understand sort of where are the dead spots, what needs to be fixed and where. That enabled us to generate some 6,000 individual data points on each of those trips that we did, and then to take that and do an overlay of a map to figure out where do we need to build new nodes and new small cell nodes, and really what those are from an infrastructure perspective are a small cell, some fiber optics that run to that small cell, as well as commercial electric power. And they'll generally be mounted on small poles along the rail line. In some cases, they may be mounted on a rooftop at a train station like this one, for example. It's one of the things we need to work out with DOT, and that process is ongoing right now.
What's the ballpark cost?
It's a multi-million-dollar investment on our part. I can't tell you what the specific number is, just because it's proprietary, but it is a multi-million-dollar incremental investment we'll be making here.
Who's funding?
AT&T isn't funding it entirely. There's no tax money being used here at all. This is 100% investment being made by AT&T.
So the public-private partnership, the public partnership is giving you access to...
Correct, exactly. There's no cost here to the state. What the state's role here is giving us access to that right away and doing it in a way, frankly, in a business-friendly way, right? Working with us in a cooperative manner to make the investment possible.
And the nodes are going to be up to like 30 feet up, or how high?
Typically, they're around 30 feet in height. Yeah, it'll depend on the topography of the rail line in the specific area. You know, if you rode the line, you know there's some places there's earthen berm on both sides of the rail line, which is one of the things that has made sighting and service on the rail line so difficult to a challenge over the years.
And what's the ballpark? How far out is 5G realistic?
So we've actually launched 5G here in southwestern Connecticut already. So that service is on and operating today. We will expand into other parts of Connecticut in the coming months. I think the nodes that we are building as part of this project are all 5G ready. So they'll launch with 4G and will be transitioned to 5G, I would imagine, relatively quickly. They all are upgradable by software as well, too. So there's no additional infrastructure that we can put in.
Where specifically do you have 5G?
I'm sorry.
Within a couple of years is quickly?
For this specific project, we're hopeful we can maybe...
For 5G.
5G is on air today. It is on air in southwestern Connecticut today.
Where specifically?
Southwestern Connecticut, from Greenwich to Bridgeport.
On the train, on the line?
On all the nodes along here, 5G is already lit up.
There was some mention about upgrading the cars. What does that mean?
So I'll let the commissioner address that issue. I think he's probably the right person to talk about that.
Mr. Emron, can I just ask one more question, though? This is private, but who takes liability? You're saying that there are no health issues, but who's holding on to the liability? Because there are thousands of studies saying 2G, 3G, 4G are dangerous, are changing DNA, and are causing health risks and issues. So I'd like to know from a private, public standpoint, who holds on to liability? Is it the consumer? No,
And I'm going
just
to turn
Mr.
around right
Emron
now. You've
answer.
asked your question, and the press has told you that they'll give you an opportunity afterwards. So I'd like to answer the first question. And Richard Andruski's right over here. We're buying 132 new cars. We're buying new locomotives for this branch. We have already been working with all of the carriers on how to gain access into our cars so that all our cars have the receptors. And for those of you who are regular riders, you know that we found a way to make it work in the tunnel going into Grand Central with partnerships with the cell phone carriers that are there. We're looking forward to this as another partnership that will work extremely well along this corridor, making sure that we've carried that connectivity all the way through, because it was the number one, not only for this densest area, but even for the subway system, that people knew that they could get on, they could read their books, they could do what they needed to do because they would have access onto getting that Wi-Fi network, and that's what this is going to do for us.
What's the timeline for the upgrade? Commissioner, this will work differently than on Amtrak trains. My understanding is Amtrak determined that they could not have Wi-Fi systems within their cars.
It's a Faraday cage.
Okay, I'm going to tell you that as a regular user of Amtrak, Amtrak has a limited, they try to actually provide you